Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited. John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today. When I take a critical examination of your Swirler and your Passport Negro, I see two sides of the same bent coin and two wings on a crippled bird. And the reason why I see two sides of the same bent coin and two wings on the same crippled bird is because when you look at your Swirler and your Passport Negro, they are practically using the same talking points, making the same arguments, and using these talking points and arguments to reason, rationalize, and justify pursuing relationships outside of the black race. And they believe that these arguments are the things that will justify them going out and pursuing relationships with either your white men, your Hispanic men, your Asian men and Arab men, or your Passport Negro getting his passport and then getting on a plane to go overseas to pursue relationships with your foreign women. And when you listen to the talking points of both your Swirler and your Passport Negro, they both use the same arguments to devalue each other, the same way black men and black women use arguments to devalue each other in the gender war. And both your Swirler and your Passport Negro both say that because the people in their communities are so bad, they need to leave their communities to pursue relationships with people outside of it. Your Swirler says that black men are so no good and trifling that they use this as their justification for exploring their dating options with white men, Hispanic men, Asian men, Arab men, and Indian men. And your Passport Negro says that black women are so ratchet and so crazy and so disrespectful and uncooperative that this is their reason for wanting to go get a passport and get on a plane to go overseas and pursue relationships with women all over the world. And both your Swirler and your Passport Negro both say that the black community is untenable, that they need to divest from the black community. They need to take their resources out of this black community because they believe that this black community is Blackistan, and because both of them believe that it is so-called Blackistan, they believe that they need to both leave Blackistan and go to another country in order to build a better place. Unfortunately, when you take that critical look at both your Swirler and your Passport Negro, you see that the problem isn't the black community they complain about. The big problem with both of them is their perception of self. And when you look at your Swirler and your Passport Negro, their perception of self is defined by self-hatred, and that definition of self-hatred has been established by the white supremacy that both believe in, because both your Swirler and your Passport Negro both believe in the concept of white supremacy, and they believe in it so deeply that they literally hate their own gender. And both your Swirler and your Passport Negro, they have been programmed to believe that their own opposite gender is the enemy. Your Swirler believes that the black man is her enemy, and your Passport Negro believes that the black woman is his enemy. And both of them have been taught to hate their own opposite gender so much that they believe that the only way for them to find so-called love and happiness is by going outside of their race to pursue a person of a different culture, a different ethnicity, and they oftentimes elevate this person to a higher level above them. And when they go out here and elevate that person to a higher level above them, what both your swirler and your passport Negro are doing is participating in white supremacy. Because white supremacists, what they want both black men and black women to do is not see a value in self and not see a value in blackness, but see a value in someone else's culture and see a worth in someone else's culture. And that shows how deeply dysfunctional both your swirler and your passport Negro truly are, because they're sitting there talking about how they need to divest from their black community, when what causes their black communities to be dysfunctional is this perception that both the black man and the black woman have of each other. Because they do not see value in each other, they do not respect each other, and because they do not respect each other, they do not love each other. And because they cannot love themselves, this is what makes it next to impossible for them to find love with anyone, regardless of their race. Because when you take a critical examination of many of your swirlers, many of the women who talk about so-called exploring their dating options and pursuing these relationships with these white men, Hispanic men, Asian men, Arab men, and Indian men, most of those women making those videos talking about swirling are still single at the end of the day. Just like your passport Negroes who talk about getting their passports and going overseas, these men at the end of the day also are still single. And both of these groups, both still being single, is the condemning talking point that refutes all of their narratives about going to find and explore their dating options or going overseas to pursue your foreign women. Both of their talking points have already been proven false, and they've been proven false by these individuals, by themselves, still being single. Because as your David Carroll and Yaquisi 100 have stated in many of their videos, where is Waldo? And I go on to say, where is the Hispanic woman? Where is the Asian woman? Where is this white woman? Again, where is Becky? Where is Julia? Where is May Lynn? Where are these women? Because you don't see any of these women, just like you don't see any of these men. And at the end of the day, you still have the same black men and black women bickering and arguing in another skirmish in the gender wars, having us believe that they have all of these options, but they don't have any options because they still buy into the false concepts of white supremacy, which are designed to keep both black men and black women divided, and have both black men and black women going out and talking about walking away from their community and pushing a narrative that is destructive to both black men and black women. So when I look at both your swirler and your black male with his passport talking about going overseas to pursue relationships with foreign women, I see the exact same person, and I see the exact same person who is either a bent and damaged coin, or basically I really see a wounded bird wandering around looking for some sort of help, but in denial about its condition. Because when I look at your black male and your black female, this bird is just walking around hurt, and it wants to believe that it's okay, but it's not okay, because this bird is not flying and actualizing its potential. And the reason why this bird is not flying and actualizing its potential is because it's too proud to admit that it has been hurt, and it has been hurt badly. Now, your black female who swirls and your black male with his passport, in many cases, I believe, is someone who has been hurt badly by a past relationship. And because they have been hurt so badly by a black person who they invested their emotions in, they don't want to deal with that hurt. And what they want to do is they want to hurt other people by showing their value by getting this white man, this Hispanic man, this Asian man, or this Arab man, or in the case of this passport Negro, getting this foreign woman. What they want to do is show how they have some sort of value and worth to the world by going out here and getting this foreign woman. So both of them, what they want to do, they feel really bad about the way their relationship with a black person ended, and now what they want to do is go out here and get this foreign person and then rub it in the face of black men and black women. What they want to do is get these white and non-black people, rub them in their face in order to show black men their value and show black women their value. So basically, these people have very low self-esteem, very low self-worth, and very poor self-confidence, and they're looking to use either this white man or this foreign woman as an attachment in order to re-establish their own value as people. And they don't really love the person. What they want to get from either the white man, Hispanic man, Asian man, or Arab man and Indian man in the case of the Swirlers, or in the case of the passport Negro, the foreign woman, they want to get some sort of value out of that person as an attachment, and they want to use that person as social currency to elevate their own value. Because people who were involved in interracial relationships, they love the person based on the content of their character. But when it comes down to your swirler and your passport Negro, in most cases, their main interest in that person is the color of their skin or their ethnicity. And because they believe so strongly that this person's ethnicity and color of their skin will make them a so-called better person, this is what makes them want to pursue that person. They don't want to know this person based on their internal character traits. No, they want to know them as related to their racial identity and their racial ethnicity. And they believe that because a person has a different race and identity, this will make them a so-called better person. But what that is a belief in white supremacy, in believing that someone is better than you. And when you believe that someone is better than you, you will never find love or so-called happiness, because only a person who loves themselves can find love and happiness with another person. And because someone loves who they are, they attract people to themselves who love who they are because they love themselves. But your passport Negro and your swirler, they will never find love because they do not love themselves. And this is the main reason why your swirler and your passport Negro are still single and still making videos every day. And they're making these videos because they are not happy with the state of their lives, and they want to spread their misery in their videos, where they sit there and are just angry at the world. That anger comes from a place of being hurt by someone in their past, and because they're still trying to deal with that hurt, they're looking to hurt others who are out here who talk against their narratives. And the reason why they want to hurt those people is because those people who speak against their passport narratives or their swirling narratives, these people are trying to heal other people, and they're trying to share love with other people, because people who love other people want to see people be healthy. But these people who buy into the passport narrative or the swirling narrative, these are people who have bought into all of this hurt and don't feel like they can find any sort of love, not understanding that love starts with you and not with others. Now, these same swirlers and passport Negroes believe that they need to leave their communities and go out to other communities to find better. And this is another dysfunctional idea that your swirler and your passport Negro both have. They believe that they need to leave their communities and so-called divest from them, take their resources from them. However, when they go outside of their communities, they ironically never find that happiness that they're looking for. Instead, all they do is wind up miserable in the company of either white men, Hispanic men, Asian men, or these foreign women. And the reason why many of those men and women wind up miserable is because they still don't like themselves, they still don't value themselves, and they think by taking their resources out of the community, they are hurting black people, when in actuality, all they're doing is hurting themselves, because when you take resources out of your own community and enrich another person's community, all you do is impoverish yourself, and you make your own community even poorer at your own expense. So your black male and your black female, again, they believe that by divesting from the community, they're going to make it a better place. But the whole thing is, all they do is bring their dysfunction to another community, because your black male and your black female, they think they're getting away from Blackistan, but Blackistan is a mindset and a perception in the minds of both the passport Negro and the swirling black female. And because both your passport Negro and your swirler hate themselves, they don't see a value to any place that they go to. And because they don't see a value to any place they go to, that is why every place they go turns into a Blackistan, because both your swirler and your passport Negro do not value themselves, so they don't value any community they go to. So it doesn't matter where they go with their white man, their Hispanic man, their Asian man, or their Arab man, or their foreign woman, they are going to bring their dysfunction with them. And the reason why they're going to bring their dysfunction with them is because both your swirler and your passport Negro do not value being black. They do not value a black community. They do not value building a black community. And they do not value anybody else's community. In fact, all they want to do is go to these communities basically and use them as attachments to elevate their own social status, get social currency. They are not interested in building any sort of real families. They are not interested in building any sort of wealth. They are not interested in building anything at all. It is all one big fight that they're having with an imaginary black woman or an imaginary black man who hurt them many years ago. And what they want to do is get revenge on that black man or that black woman by showing them up and saying that they did better by pursuing one of these relationships with these white or non-black people. And what they want to do is say that they did so much better because they managed to so-called secure a relationship with a so-called better person. But the big problem with both your passport Negro and your swirler is that they don't see a value in themselves. They don't see a worth in themselves, and they don't see a worth, and because they don't see a worth and a value in themselves, this is why they're looking for validation and approval from someone outside of their race and someone outside of the opposite gender. And both your swirler and your passport Negro, they will never be spiritually fulfilled because both your passport Negro and your swirler just don't like themselves, and because they don't like themselves, it is almost impossible for them to find any sort of satisfying relationship whatsoever. Now, your swirler and your passport Negro, whenever confronted on their talking points, oftentimes they will use tactics like moving the goalpost in order to deflect from the real issue. And both your swirler and your passport Negro, when they get called out, they will try to make the argument all about you saying that they aren't supposed to go out here and date outside of their race, or they'll make it all about you not wanting so-called black men to travel. And in both cases, what both of these individuals are doing is moving the goalpost, because it is not about black men being able to travel. It's about a black man dealing with his issues that make him dislike black women and dislike himself. Just like on the swirling side, it's about dealing with this black woman, dealing with her issues that make her dislike black men, dealing with that hurt that makes her think so negatively about black men, and dealing with these black men and the issues that have him thinking so negatively about this black woman. So both of them really need to deal with numerous issues, but because this wounded bird has too much pride to admit that it's hurt, it continues to wander on the ground thinking that it's healthy, when in actuality this bird is hurting so badly, and this hurt bird promotes a toxic energy that literally makes you look at them and see the dysfunction and possibly the mental illness going on with both your swirler and your passport Negro. For them to get so emotional about someone who calls out their behavior, it shows that they are in some serious denial about the problems that they're having as related to possibly their mental health, because any healthy person is going to say that yes, you have bad black men, you have bad black women, there's good, and when it comes down to black men and black women, sometimes relationships don't work, but they don't judge an entire group of a gender, of a race, based on one or two bad experiences. What most people who are healthy say, okay, that was a bad experience with a bad person, and that there's good and bad in everyone, and that when it comes down to relationships, sometimes things don't work, and when things don't work, we take a look at things, realize what doesn't work, and then move on and have a healthy relationship with someone else. Because if something doesn't work, that means God does not mean that person to be with you, but it does not mean the entire gender of your race is entirely bad. It may mean there's a bad person. It may mean that there are people in that part of your community you shouldn't deal with, and it may possibly mean that you need to take a minute to self-examine and realize, why are these kinds of women, or why are these kind of men gravitating towards you? Because healthy people, when they realize that if this is a type of person gravitating towards them and is attracted to them, then what they're going to do is go out here and take a look at themselves, make changes to themselves, and once they make those changes to themselves, those people are not going to be attracted to you, because you are what you attract. And both your swirler and your passport Negro, they don't want to admit they are what they attract. And the toxic people that they keep attracting to themselves, the main reason why these people keep attracting themselves to themselves is because both your swirler and your passport Negro don't like themselves. So this is why they oftentimes attract these predators, and these predators wind up hurting them in the exact same way that your black man or your black woman in the past did, and this is the main reason why their relationships fail at the end of the day, and why both your swirler and your passport Negro are still single and still arguing online 5, 10, and almost 15 years later on social media platforms, talking about this no good black man and this no good black woman, and that this no good black man and no good black woman are the reason they need to divest from Blackistan. Unfortunately, it is their frame of mind and perception of self that brings Blackistan to every place both your passport Negro and your swirler go to, whether they leave the black community in the United States to go to another community. They will bring Blackistan with them because they do not value themselves, and because they do not value themselves, they can't value anybody else, and all they want to do is use this other white or non-black person that they're having a relationship with to be this attachment to spite the other gender. And what they want to do is say, na 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 na, I got a white man, or na 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 na, I got a foreign woman, and it's all about them getting spite back at that black woman who hurt them, or getting spite back at that black man who did them dirty. So this is about them and their low self-esteem, and when you have a person with low self-esteem, they are looking to get value out of another person, and they're looking to get that value out of another person, and this is the main reason why their relationships fail, because they elevate this person to an unrealistic level of perfection, and when that person starts to show their humanity, that's when they start having issues with that person, because oftentimes they deify this person and they put them on a higher level above themselves. And because they put that person on a higher level above themselves, what they do is when that person starts to show them some human traits that show how flawed they are, that's when both your swirler and your passport Negro start having issues with that person. But because they don't want to admit that they are having the same issues they had with the black man and the black woman, they oftentimes will still sit there in denial or won't talk about those issues even as their relationships are deteriorating. But when I look at both your swirler and your passport Negro from a critical perspective, they oftentimes are, again, two wings on the same wounded bird. And it's this wounded bird that can make the black community sick. Because if you watch too many of these videos of where these swirlers and these passport Negroes are sitting there degrading the opposite gender, they'll have you thinking that this is the way things are for black people. They'll have you thinking that black love is dead, and they'll have you thinking that black men and black women are no good. And if you listen to too many of these videos, you will come out of them with a perception of self-hatred. So when I look at the whole narrative as related to the passport Negro and the swirler, again, I see two very deeply damaged people, and I see this type of content as very destructive to all of the brothers and sisters out here. And this is the reason why I call out the swirlers and the passport Negroes, because both of these groups are destroying the black community. They devalue black people, they devalue our community, and they both push a narrative that is anti-black. They don't see value in blackness, and for you to go out here and say that somebody is better than you, this is white supremacy, because the white supremacist wants you to believe that being black is less than, being black is inferior, and that the one thing that's really sad about the passport Negro and the swirler is that they both put other races above themselves, and they believe it is the right thing to do to put another race above themselves in the name of so-called happiness. And I say that if that's your idea of happiness, then you would be more comfortable on a slave plantation than anything else, because to sit there and put somebody else above your own race, That is the ultimate statement of self-hatred I have ever heard in my life. Now, these black men and black women, they will swear up and down that their reasons are completely different, but once you take a critical examination of their talking points, again, you will see that both your swirler and your passport Negro are both two sides of the same bent coin and two sides of the same wounded bird, and that wounded bird wants to spread its cancer in the black community, where they want to make everybody miserable in their company. And it's up to healthy brothers and sisters to come out here and stand up against the swirler and the passport Negro and tell them to take their white supremacy elsewhere, because that narrative that they're pushing is toxic, and we don't need that type of toxicity promoted in the black community. Now, I have received a lot of blowback for refuting this passport narrative on social media, and that blowback has led to me losing subscribers and financial supporters, and I'm looking to get some help from all of you brothers and sisters out there who love and share value for blackness and the black community. So I would really appreciate it if you brothers and sisters out here would donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box, or going out here and picking up some of my positive SJS Direct publications like the ISIS series, the Easteme series, the John Haynes series, the Spinsterella trilogy, or my men's issues books on Amazon.com. I'm all about building a stronger black community, building a strong black family, and promoting black love. And again, this is why I push back so hard against these swirlers and these black males with passports who want to go out here and pursue foreign women, because both of these groups, they are about promoting and pushing a gender war that keeps our community divided and keeps us fighting against each other. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller.